Hello from Shri Learning Academy. Today's topic is SQL injection. For those seeking private coaching, feel free to reach out via WhatsApp. Let's jump right in. Let's imagine you are using a website. Maybe it's an online store, or maybe it's a simple login page where you enter your username and password. You type it in, hit submit, and just like that you are in. Seems pretty normal, right? Now behind the scenes, the website needs to talk to a database to check if your username and password are correct. It does this using something called SQL. It stands for Structured Query Language. SQL is just a way for websites and apps to ask questions to a database or give it instructions. For example, hey database, is there a user called John with password 1234? And the database answers yes or no. This is all pretty routine and happens millions of times a day across the internet. But here's where things get tricky. SQL injection is what happens when someone manages to sneak in their own instructions into one of those questions or queries and completely change what the website was supposed to ask. Instead of just checking your password, the database might get confused and end up doing something completely different. And this might include showing private information, allowing access without a password, and even deleting all the data. Let's walk through a simple example so it's super clear. Say you have a login page that asks for your username and password. The code behind that page might take your input and build an SQL query like this. Select all from users where username equals to John and password equals to 1234. Now if you type John and 1234 into the form, that's exact query the website sends to the database. And if a user with those credentials exists, the database replies, yep, here you go, and logs you in. But let's say someone enters something strange into the password field. Something like this, or 1 equal to 1. Now let's see what happens when the site builds the query using that input. Select all from users where username equals to John and password equals to or 1 equal to 1. If you read that out, it's basically saying, is there a user called John whose password is blank? Or is 1 equal to 1? And guess what? 1 is always equal to 1. So the whole condition becomes true and the database says, well, yeah, that checks out. And just like that, the attacker might be logged in even though they never gave the right password. That's SQL injection in its simplest form. It's like tricking the system into accepting a fake key just because you figured out how the lock works. Now you might be thinking, okay, but who would actually fall for this? And the scary answer is a lot of websites, especially the older ones or ones built without security in mind. SQL injection has been around for decades, and even though we haven't gotten better at spotting it, it still happens. In fact, some of the biggest hacks in history, like the one that exposed millions of user accounts, happened because of SQL injection. And here's another example just to drive the point home. Imagine a website that lets you search for products by name. You type in laptop and it builds an SQL query like select all from products where name equals to laptop. So far, so good. But what if someone types this instead? Laptop, semicolon, drop table, products, semicolon, dash dash. The query now becomes select all from products where name equals to laptop, semicolon, drop table, products, semicolon, dash dash. Now we have a second instruction snuck into the same query. That drop table command, it's like telling the database to delete the entire list of products. And the 2 dashes at the end, that's how SQL marks the rest of the line as a comment. So the rest is ignored. Just like that, the attacker tells the website, show me laptops, then delete all products. And the database listens. So in a matter of seconds, all your product data is gone. Of course, real websites usually have more layers of protection, but if a site is built without thinking about SQL injection, even simple tricks like that can work. What makes SQL injection dangerous is that it doesn't require someone to break into a server or install anything. All they need to do is talk to the website using a browser, just like you or I would. They are just speaking a different language, the language the website's database understands. Now you might wonder, why doesn't the website check what people type before using it in a query? And the answer is, it should. But not all websites do it properly. The best way to prevent SQL injection is to use something called prepared statements or parameterized queries. Here's how that works. Instead of building a query like this, select all from users where username equals to John and password equals to 1234. The website would prepare a kind of template like select all from users where username equals to question mark and password equals to question mark. Then it fills in the blanks safely without letting any special characters or sneaky code interfere with the query. So if someone tried to enter or 1 equal to 1 into the password field, it wouldn't change the query at all. It would just search for a user with a password that literally includes those weird characters which probably doesn't exist. This is kind of like going to a restaurant and ordering food by choosing from a menu. Instead of walking into the kitchen and yelling your own recipe, when you stick to the menu, the chef, aka the database, knows exactly what you want. But if you sneak into the kitchen and start shouting instruction, you might mess things up. Another good practice is input validation. That means checking what kind of data the user is giving you. If a username is supposed to be just letters and numbers, then don't allow anything else. No quotes, no semicolons, no slashes, just plain text. That way, even if someone tries to sneak in some SQL command, they will be stopped at the door. There's also something called least privilege. This means the website should connect with the database using an account that only has permission to do exactly what it needs, nothing more. The site just needs to read data, don't give it permission to delete or change things. That way, even if an attacker breaks in, they can't do as much damage. So, to sum it all up, SQL injection is a trick. It's about giving a website unexpected input so you can control how it talks to the database. Instead of just logging in or searching for a product, you're sending secret commands that the website didn't mean to send. It's one of the oldest and most well-known web vulnerabilities, and it's been used in real-world attacks again and again. The scary part is it often takes just a few characters typed into a form, but the good news is we know how to stop it. Developers just need to write code that threads all user input carefully, never trusting anything without checking it first. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you are looking for more personalized training, contact us on WhatsApp. We offer a range of theoretical and practical courses starting at just $99. You can also find a written explanation and a quiz on our website, link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe for more useful videos and feel free to ask any questions in the comments. We are here to help. See you in the next one.